Welcome to another infographic instant with Brian Michael. In this episode, we'll be looking at how fast has shadow banking grown in emerging markets. Before we talk about the infographic, we should describe a little bit the paper from which the infographic comes. That paper tries to use data in order to find shadow banking opportunities. While in the press, many people have noted the regulatory challenges for shadow banking. Shadow banking has another aspect, and that is it provides capital to companies who need it and who cannot use often very dysfunctional banks in their home countries. So the purpose of this brief is to identify those markets where shadow banking is growing the fastest and to provide lessons to would-be and actual shadow bankers about providing capital. Let's turn our attention now to the infographic. Looking at the infographic, we see that there's basically three groups of countries in terms of the growth of shadow banking. On the y-axis, we see the annually compounded growth rates of shadow banking, which our data source, the Financial Stability Board, defines as other financial intermediaries. Now, in the first group are Argentina, China, Russia, and to a lesser extent, India. With the exception of Argentina, these represent the BRICS writ large, except of course for Brazil and South Africa. What's interesting about these countries is that shadow banking has grown by over 100% a year, and the extent of this growth has helped to fuel very rapid economic growth in these countries. We know that Argentina has had recent problems and indeed a debt default vis-a-vis foreign debtors. However, the fact still remains that this rapidly growing capital-starved economy has seen the fastest growth in shadow banking in recent years, and indeed that growth has continued in the post-crisis period. Turning our attention to the second group of countries, which represent roughly everything from Turkey all the way to Singapore and Indonesia, we see moderate growth. And by moderate growth, that is easily over 50% growth rates a year. Thus, moderate is in quotation marks. Imagine investing in an industry that grew over 50% a year. One would see very rapid returns. So even though these countries have seen less growth in shadow banking, still the very fast clip of growth in places like Brazil, South Africa, even Indonesia, suggests very large shadow banking opportunities. Finally, in the last group of countries, places like Chile, Saudi Arabia, and Mexico, shadow banking growth has been more moderated at about over 20% per year. These economies still grow much faster than formal banking in emerged market and developed markets, and even these quote-unquote low growers provide significant opportunities for financial institutions interested in providing shadow banking capital in these economies. So, what is the moral of the slide? I think the moral of the slide is that we have to look at emerging markets in order to see these fast growth opportunities, and shadow banking provides a very lucrative potential market even before all the regulatory changes for financial institutions looking to come into these markets. This has been another infographic instant with Brian Michael.